Hi, this is Jesse Johnson, and you're watching John Alley TV. Hey John, how are you?
I'm good, Jesse, and you? Good, man?
Good.
I'm so glad to have you, Jesse, finally on the show, because I was like watching your movies since years now, you know, in following you on Instagram, because I love the way you're sharing your job, your thing. I love it. I just love it, man. And but first of all, just tell us, how are you, man?
I'm good. It's been an exciting couple of weeks with the release of One Ranger, pushing that, and we have also finished a film that I directed called Boudica, and we're a good ways along on another one called Chief of Station. So it's busy. I'm not actually on set, which is why I really love being, but it's very busy, and you know, I'm dashing around all over the place. So it's as far as I'm concerned, if you're making movies and you're busy, you're good.
You're good, yeah. You're always on set. Seems like you're always on set. That's amazing, man. So just before we start talking, you know, about One Ranger, you know, you're a director now for a while, but you're also a stunt coordinator, you know, for years. Like
Sure.
you were in a lot of blockbuster movies such as Avatar, The Amazing Spider-Man, Thor, you know, Terminator, and so many. And then director, you know, Debt Collectors with Sott Adkins, Avengement, Triple Threat, love this one with Sott Adkins, Tony Jaa, Michael J. White, Rico Huey's White Elephant, Michael Rooker, Bruce Willis, Olga Kurylenko, and now One Ranger, you know, Thomas Jane, love the guy, and John Malkovich, and also Dean Jagger, and my friend, you know, Jess Liodin, he's my friend.
Oh, fantastic. Small world. Yeah. I love Jess.
Yeah, he's a good guy, very good guy, good actor, good stunt, good actor, also martial artist. He's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so just enjoy the movie today. Gotta tell you. And I love, you know, the neo-noir genre western, you know, and Thomas Jane is badass in it. I love, you know, the cowboy look ranger, and also the accent. I love the accent, man. That was awesome. And the movie started with a little story about Captain William Bill McDonald, you know, and when he stopped a riot, you know, alone. Yeah. Why did you start the movie like this?
Yeah, it's the part of the legend, the mythology of the Texas Ranger, you know?
Yeah, they're such badass, right? So a lot of sun, dust, bullets, blood. You wrote this one and directed. The movie is out now. How you feel about it?
Oh, good. I feel good about it. It's, you know, it's a particular kind of film. It's an older school kind of action film in terms of we don't have any meta winking at the audience, which is something that people have become so used to. I realize it's dangerous now to go out with something like this unless people know that in advance, you know. The thing about movies at the moment, we're at a strange period, so everything is very superhero or mythology or fantasy, like a comic book. And you know, even though this movie is pretty fantastical, we tried to keep it within the realms of reason. And I think one review said it wasn't as much fun as they thought. And it's like, I'm curious that people have come to think of action and violence and blood and people getting killed as fun. And I thought more and more about that. And I realized they're watching John Wick, where John Wick kills 200 people in one episode. And he fools 6 stories and he bounces off the concrete, you know. And if you watch these kind of movies, and if this is the kind of world that you're expecting, I don't know if I can make the action movies that go into that, because it's not. I don't care. I don't give a shit about them. You know, I really, really don't care. Superman movies where a guy can fly through a building, there's no jeopardy for me. They're interesting. They're mythology, but they're as interesting to me now as the 20
real
years.
superhero, right?
Yeah, the 20-year craze of making religious movies in the 1950s and 60s. People loved anything to do with Bible. It's the same now. It's, people do want a fantastical world, but it takes a certain kind of storyteller. I like to make my stories more rooted in reality. The guys are people you might live next door to or meet, in the city.
I love it.
And so you ask, how do I feel about the film? I'm very proud of the movie. But if you're going expecting a superhero movie or a film where people, are not real, it's not that movie. It's a fun action movie with a lot of exciting sequences in it and a lot of, grueling fighting. But it's not martial arts where guys can stand on one toe and jump from one bamboo bush to another.
Yeah.
These are two guys who are fighting because of the sheer willpower in their intestines, that's left. And I find that interesting. And I think a lot of people do. Certainly it was very popular in Dallas, in Texas. It's very, very popular in the bread bin of America, the middle section. I'm not so sure about the guys that are obsessed with their Superman films.
No. You're right. It's interesting. How you portray the character Alex Tyree because he's like a superhero, a real superhero, like a
real superhero.
Yeah. And sometimes a superhero movie are inspired by
of course.
Western Texas genre cowboy. Look at Logan with from James Mangold. It's like a Western. It's like a standalone movie, revenge. And Logan could be a ranger just like Thomas Jane in your movie. So I love it, and I love how you write the character of Alex Tyree. Badass. He's nonchalance. He doesn't care. He lives by the rules. By the book, and that's all matters for him to doing his job. And also love the collaboration between, difference between the Texas straight and British jolly old England, that was fun, with the accent and it just like the dialogue between John and Thomas in the car was like, I don't rate him, just catch him and brand him. He goes like, oh, you actually talk like that, right? I love that. Do the process of writing was fun to you,
I don't rate him. Just catch him and brand him.
You actually talk like that.
It was very, very fun. He's based on a lot of real characters, but I realize they're probably more from the 19th and early 20th century, So he's an anachronism. And you meet people like this. When I'm doing stunts, there's a lot of guys I came up with that were older when I was starting out. And these were guys that had done every manner of stunt. They've been on films, planes, horses, high falls, and motorcycles. They knew the business inside out, and there's a confidence that gives to a man, that puts him in a certain category. You sense them when they enter a room. This is the guy that you don't have any chance to compete with. He's just someone that you can learn from a little bit, And I tried to bring some of that real life mythology to Thomas's character, which I always find interesting.
I loved every dialogue in the movie, and I was wondering, like, he wrote it, so he has to to find the the good connection between the character, between the culture, because there's a lot of difference when we are in Ukraine and in London and in Texas. I love the the photography of the movie. Good work on it. And also love the final in the warehouse, and also in the desert, but without any spoiler. We can imagine, like, because we're talking earlier about superhero movies, but it's like we can imagine a sequel about the movie, like the journey, of this lone ranger. You know what I mean? Is this something you thought about? Like writing another story?
I think we should
Alex Tyree,
I think we should keep doing them. Personally, I think we should do it.
You have to, man. I was like, I want more.
Yeah,
especially with the ending.
I think the character that he has, because when you write a film, you put the bare bones down. All the dialogue that's in the picture is written by me. He added lines here and there, but basically all I do is create a skeleton that the actor puts the flesh on. That he makes it interesting, attractive, someone you want to follow or not. And I think he's a cool character. I think I want to take him to Asia next, maybe Thailand, and we go meet Tony Jaa.
Oh, that would be fun. No, you have to think about it, because I love that. I like Alex Tyree, and once again, Thomas Jane, I love his performance in the character. We can feel, he's like the face, and first of all, in the when the trailer was out, I didn't recognize him, and I said, "Oh, that's a good point," because he nailed it. That was awesome, man.
It's interesting. He got what I wanted to do with it as well, because Thomas is quite a young guy. He's fit. He moves around. He aged himself in this one in the terms of he moves creaky. He moves like a broken down rodeo rider with broken legs. He's like a cowboy, because in real life Thomas moves like a dancer. He doesn't wear shoes. He comes to set with bare feet, and he's on his toes, and he's very light. But the moment he put this outfit on, he aged 10 years, in my opinion, and 100 barroom fights and brawls and shootouts, falling off horses. That was all through his performance and the ability to grab that. And I think that's really interesting.
Jesse, regarding your filmography, action films. A lot of action film. What is your best, movie character, all time? Because you have a lot of inspiration, I guess, as a stunt. Also, you came from the action, like the essence of the action. Like 2 weeks ago, I was invited by Netflix. So we did a fight scene. Then we did like a fall, and then they how many say that in English? They torch me. They put light on me. So I was burning. That was insane. That was the first time I did it, and I loved that. I said, because of those guys, we have a lot of entertainment, in the industry. How much your job is important, and that's why we all think you should have an Oscar. You should have. They had an Oscar to the stunts department. That's so important, and I just love that. So when now I'm watching a movie with a lot of action, I do understand the thing you have to do, to make a scene, an action scene actually. So what is your inspiration, maybe a character, you're always thinking about?
It's different for every movie. That's a very good question. You definitely take on a different persona with each film that you're doing, but ultimately, you have your own taste that you have to come back to. You have to be very careful about trying to copy another character, but there are different things that guide you through a film. It could be one piece of music that you particularly love. It could be one photo or set of black and white photos or something like that. But yeah, you are right to a degree. There's often times something that guides you through a film. I wanted always to root it as much as possible in truth and do, not be lazy about the research. And Thomas agreed, and Thomas did that too. And that was the one thing that we kept coming back to was, we can go fantasy and we can do crazy things, but let's keep this as rooted in reality as we possibly can. And because there's so much fantastical stuff going on, the characters have to be as authentic as possible. And the funny thing is, people see the movie and go, "Oh, it's unbelievable! It's cliche. It's cliche. This." It's like, no, it's not. That's how it actually is. It's
not. Of course, it's not.
But yes, back to your original question. The guiding sort of compass on this film was to try and keep it as faithful and honorable to the codex of the Texas Rangers, which is quite strict, but amazingly rather 19th century in layout. The clothes and the hat and the shape of the mustache, even the type of gun belt. The cowboy boots, which are very impractical by today's standards, but look great. It
was, and in particular, I love how you start the movie with this beautiful shot of him, on the hills, on the horse, and then you let the space for the One Ranger title. Loved it. It's so classic, and also you can expect like a long journey. I just love that.
Well, thank you so much. John Hall and I looked at a film that we felt we really, really wanted to use, which is called Man of the West. It was an Anthony Mann picture, but the opening had the horse, you know, and the silhouette and all that sort of. It was, you know, it was something we wanted to do. I've always liked title sequences where they use something that comes in from within the picture, as opposed to just laying on titles boringly, you know.
Jesse, you did a lot of. This is a question. Actually, this question is one of my subscribers. You know, one of my subscribers on the YouTube channel, and you did a lot of movies with starring Sott Adkins.
I did. I love Scott.
Yeah, he's amazing. Scott is amazing. Which movie is your favorite among those you've? So this is two questions actually. How come you did a lot of movies with Sott Adkins? Maybe he's your friend. And which movie is your favorite among those you've directed? Like, you know, you put your heart into. I guess you put your heart into all of them, but maybe there's one, you know, like.
Oh, there certainly is. Yeah, you try to put your heart into all. Sometimes it's not possible, you know. You either have a producer who changes the script, you get an actor you don't quite gel with, and
deadlines. Yeah.
It's more difficult to become, you know, every day the passion gets knocked off it. You try your hardest to remain faithfully loyal and in love with this, but it's not always possible, especially at the budget level that I was working at, certainly when I started out. Scott and I found that we had a great deal in common. We were both very blue collar. He was the son of a butcher. My mum was a part-time school teacher, and so we neither had anything when we came to this business, you know, and everything we have, we've worked very, very hard for, and we continue to work very hard. Scott's one of the hardest working individuals I've ever met in terms of the kind of commitment and sweat equity that he puts into the role. And so I love working with him. I would love to work with him again and continue to, and I have no problem with it. My favorite of the pictures we did together is Avengement.
Love this one.
The sheer, you know, the way it came together. That was a script of mine that I'd written based on a Japanese samurai film that I knew was
Savage.
Framed by a guy walking into a place saying, "I'm going to commit suicide. But before I do, I just want to tell you a quick story." You know,
do it.
Which is from Samurai Harakiri, I believe it is. He walks in and says, "I'm fine. I just need a corner of your place to kill myself. And before I do that, I'm going to tell you why." And of course, the story involves all of these people in some way. And I thought, this is a fantastic way to start a film, but we'll have it in a pub. And he walks into the pub and says, I'm fucked up, but that's okay. I'm going to tell you why I'm here. And that was where the film sort of sprung from. But a tremendous experience making that film. I really enjoyed it. And the film works very well on its own 2 feet for whatever you however you judge it, budget, cast level, whatever, studio film, doesn't matter. It works as a movie, which is good. I tried to get collectors. I worked very, very hard on those. The second one had no script, and it came out of thin air. And me, it was
really
immensely difficult to make it work. We worked a little bit with Stu Small, who helped a bit, but it was a brutal one. That one put me in hospital. A lot of these, temporarily I have to get put in hospital at the end of the shoot to have a saline put into me, and just to get me back up to, it's they take everything out of you, these movies,
Man, you have to watch yourself, right?
Yeah, this last one I just finished, Boudica, did that. I mean, it was one of the most brutal experiences ever making the picture. I'm very proud of it. I think it's my best picture I've made. But they're like a physical manifestation. You cough it up, and it's blood and muscle, and finally becomes a film.
We're not here to talk about Boudica but this is something that interests me the most, because I love story movies, like epic story movie, and I like Olga Kurylenko, and sometimes I do podcasts with a director and one of the cast member. I did it with Mark Dacascos. I love him. Mark is a brother. I did with Casper Van Dien. I did with Christina Loken, and maybe next time for Boudica, I would love to have you.
I worked with Casper on Starship Troopers, and then Mark Dacascos I worked with on one of my early films. What was about agent? Sci-fi Channel movie, but
Sci-fi Channel movie.
Very gracious with him. He's a wonderful human being. But
Mark is fantastic.
We'll bring Olga along, and we'll do Boudica for sure.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be, and Casper, man, he
We're here.
can't stop talking, And I was like, Casper, it's time. I guess it's time. But I just love those guys, and we had a lot of fun, and it was so great. Yeah, I love them. And next time I would love to have you, because Boudica, I know when I saw that you were doing like a epic story movies, I said, oh, now this one is maybe for him is a game changer. It is something different. And now you just tell me, so I want to know more about it. Jesse.
I think the point is, when you make these films, it's you're putting something out there. It's very, very difficult. But the best ones demand it. They demand it of you. And One Ranger was a particularly difficult one to shoot. We shot one night where, which was when they come out of the safe house at the beginning, it's nighttime. There's a shootout in the street, and Jesse Alvin takes a motorbike.
Jesse, the motorbike.
Knocks out and punches. Is me. That's me dressed as a motorcyclist.
Oh, yeah, that's you. That's fun. That's good. You always do.
But that night was so cold. It was, it was so unbelievably cold. When I took off the leather that I wore for the motorcycle to continue filming, I put it back on again because it was warmer than my normal clothes. It was, it's by the water, so in England the temperature just drops.
UK ain't no California, right?
My blood is thinned. But it was the guys were great. Thomas was fantastic. We were shooting in the desert here in the early part of the year last year. And I don't know if you're familiar with the desert. It's very difficult. You have extreme heat followed by extreme cold. And we were filming one of these dark clouds came across. They call them thunderheads, I believe, because it's got thunder coming out of it and lightning. It's just a big black cloud, and it becomes like nighttime for a few minutes. Now we're way out in the middle of, we're a long way from base camp, and it started to rain, and I had my shorts on a shirt, and it soaked me through. Crew all hiding under, whatever rocks we can, all that kind of stuff. And I start to tremble. I'm going hypothermic because I'm an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
Clothing out to the set. And I said to the first AD, you need to call lunchtime. He said, Jesse, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. It's like, okay, we keep going, but maybe you have to direct this because I'm trembling. My brain is stopped. It's so cold because it just got really cold. And I looked over, and of course Thomas Jane is there with a T-shirt rolled up. He's got his pants on and the cowboy hat. He's soaked through, but he's just standing there watching me. So I had to all right, damn it, I'm going to keep going. If he can keep going, I'll keep going.
You had to, yeah, of course. Jesse, just before I let you, because you in production with another movie, right?
At the moment?
Yeah.
I'm in post-production.
Post-production, sorry. Yeah.
We're delivering Boudica. That was last week. And then we're doing ADR on Chief of Station with Aaron Eckhart, Olga Kurylenko, and Alex Petova, which is a much bigger movie than anything I've done before. The budget of that was four times what it was on One Ranger. So it's exciting. It's fun for me. The level of filming has increased, and it still has its difficulties, but it didn't almost kill me, luckily.
I had a director from I don't know if you watch Netflix, but I had the director of the last French movie on Netflix, AK. I don't know if you saw this one. It's a
AK,
French.
A lot of people are telling me to watch this film.
Yeah,
so I will definitely have a look at it.
Good movie. And the director, he's a friend. He was on the show last week with me, and we talked about how much the producers sometimes are how many say that are with you along the journey of filming a movie and everything and the budget, and he came to me with John, sometimes I don't think about the budget, because even if you want to do something big but you don't have the money for it, you have to do something that you want with the amount of money you have. How did you come with, sometimes you have an idea, but you don't have the budget for it. But do you care about it, or just say, no, I'm going to do it anyway?
It all depends. There's no, I wish I could give you a succinct, dynamic answer for that. Sometimes the earlier on you make those changes, the earlier on in the production or development or pre-production that you say, look, this shootout can't be done anywhere else. It has to be done in the lobby of a hotel, and you have to have 20 extras, and I have to have machine guns, at least 3 of them, and then they run outside, and I want to do a single long take where they go outside and get in a car and the gunfight continues into the street. if you come up with something like that, you definitely don't tell production about it 2 days before you're going to do it. You make sure that that's something they know about 2-3 months in advance, you know, so that they can allocate money towards that. It's a chess match, you know. I worked with Spielberg on War of the Worlds, and that film had
like
$140 million. And there's a scene in the script where Tom Cruise and his family jump into a car they've just stolen from a gas station, and they're driving away, and the gas station explodes behind them. Now, if you give that scene to almost any director, you've got a car driving towards you with a gas station explosion behind it in slow motion, which is what you imagine when you read that script. He shot that with Tom Cruise in the car driving, looks up at the mirror, you know, the small mirror, and in the small mirror, they see a little bit of an explosion and the sound of the explosion, but they keep driving. And it's very exciting because you're looking at Tom Cruise and the camera's moving 360 degrees outside of a car, but the only hint of the explosion is just on the edge of the mirror. And they did it in CG. They didn't even set one explosion off on set. But it doesn't matter. The scene is very exciting. It's very visceral, and it pulls you into it. And we've all seen low-budget films with the gas stations exploding. Who the fuck wants to see that? There's nothing interesting about it at all. So what I'm saying is, if you use your mind and you think a little bit more, in a little more depth about what it is and solution, oftentimes within the problem is the solution to making it better. Spielberg's one of the greatest low-budget directors ever born.
Yes, you're right.
So efficient, is so cunning, is so incredibly creative. To work with him is a masterclass in economy, and he has more money than anyone on earth. But his filmmaking is the most economic. You talk to anyone on his sets, one take, maybe two, but usually one take, and move on. Tom Cruise running through the street, 300 extras behind him, single take that ends on the floor in a close-up of a video camera. One take.
That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Of course, as a director now, you learned a lot on those big movies, you know. Yeah. Among the best, you know. That's awesome. Jesse, but before I let you go, you know, there's a question that I was thinking about, and you just tell me if it's okay for you to answer that, because I don't want to, you know, now, you know, in America, you have the Writers, you know, Guild of America, you know, strike. And as a writer yourself, I was wondering, do you support the movement, and is this something important that means to you? Or
it is very, very important. I'm not a member of the Guild, but I support their cause, of course. You know, what they're talking about, in essence, is that there were contracts made for internet use and streaming 20 years ago, when all that meant was you were going to put a film on YouTube and there was very, very, very little amount of money being made on it. People are still basically using that contract, producers, and they're making billions of dollars out of shows that they're putting on various different streaming platforms that are now making the same kind of money and more than cinema made, you know, 20 years ago. And so that contract is no longer good. That doesn't make any sense. But you're dealing with a very bullish mentality when you come to, you know, producers and streamers. These are not filmmakers. These are more like the studio bosses of the old days. To them, it's a form of making money, a form of factory, and they use computers and tools and rooms full of people, you know, discussing, you know, what the market wants to create their films. And so, you know, they're going to take someone who's a writer and a creative, and then they're going to try and pay them as little as they possibly can. And I think it's wrong, and I think it's a good thing that they do. I have no problem with it whatsoever. You know, I think everyone should be fairly compensated.
Yeah, the industry is always, you know, changing, moving, you know, so you have to have your voice to be heard, you know, to get what you want, you know.
Understanding that it is an evolving industry is the most important thing, you know. Every 8 to 10 years, this industry reinvents itself. What was beautiful and fashionable and wonderful, you know, a decade ago is ugly and transparent and politically incorrect and out of fashion and gaudy, and no one wants it anymore. And then you cut to 20 years and it's becoming fashion again. And 30 years later, now everyone wants that again, you know. But that's another story. What happens is the industry really does violently and viciously reinvent itself every 8 to 10 years. If you look at it, whether it's the advent of sound or color or television or video cassette or 3D, it tries very, very, it needs to do that, and it needs to keep doing that to survive as an art form. But it can be harsh, it can be difficult. It can be.
It is always like this way, always harsh.
Yes. Yeah.
Jesse, man, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much to be there with us. And man, what can I guess you will be back on the show. I hope, because I can't wait for Boudica. I'm telling you, man, because I it's like I watch almost all of your movies. Because even the old one with Mark Dacascos, I saw it. So I watch every of your movies, man. So you'll be there for Boudica, and I'm so glad you've been there for One Ranger.
Thank you for having me on. I'm the son of two fathers. There's one side of me that loves action, certainly action like Don Siegel, Howard Hawks, for this kind of action, a very American, a very universal mythology. But there's another part of me that loves these heroic historical pieces that deal with idiosyncratic characters who perhaps don't fit in those, but perhaps they do all fit together. But Hell Hath No Fury, Boudica, and there's some others coming that definitely please that part of my soul.
Stick to it, man.
Hope you love
do what you do. Yeah, do what you do what you love, man, because it works. On One Ranger, I'm telling you, it works. And you have to write another story about Alex Tyree. I want to see that, man.
I am. I'm honest. I'd like to get Tony Jaa in there as the bad guy or something. I think.
That would be awesome. I love Tony Jaa. Yeah. Thank you for your time, man. It was awesome to talk with you, and I can't wait for more.
Thank you. All right, John. Take care.
Thank you, man. Bye bye. Take care. Bye.
Take care.